Hello and welcome to the Frontier Motor Show. My name is Iven, owner of Frontier Motors. And I want to let everybody know out there, this is a car show, and we have been broadcasting this for Blab TV for 23 years. We are bringing this to you from downtown Pensacola on Palafox Street at the Co-Works Annex. And I'm happy to announce, well, I don't want to say happy because the coronavirus epidemic is not a happy situation, but fortunately for people that are still in need of buying an automobile, they have announced that car dealers, even sales, are an essential business. So Frontier Motors is still in these trying times open for business, even though we only have half the staff. Obviously, there's not a lot of traffic going out there, but there are people that need cars. On Saturday, during this epidemic, we sold 5 cars, which is not as much as we normally sell, but there are people that came in that had to purchase a car. And I guess that's why we're called essential, because if your car expires or if you get into an accident and it gets totaled, what are you going to do? You're either going to rent a car or you're going to purchase a car. And fortunately, we have a 350 car inventory at Frontier Motors on the lot. So there's a lot to choose from. If we don't have exactly what you want and you are willing to give us a week or 2 or 3 to find the exact car for you, we definitely can make it worth your while. This show is not just about Frontier Motors, it's also what's going on in the auto industry, a little bit about which car is a good car and a bad car to purchase, and some of the things that and benefits that we offer at Frontier Motors that we can help the general population in the Pensacola area when they are purchasing a car, even if it's not from Frontier. Let's say hypothetically you want to purchase a brand new car. We subscribe to the New Car Cost Guides, which gives me the ability to look up the dealer invoice/cost of any new car out there. Now, this might be helpful for you if you decided to purchase a brand new car. The other thing I can also help you with is I can give you an idea of what your trade-in value should be if you decide to purchase a new car. In other words, if it's a $40,000 car, I can tell you, okay, don't pay any more than $35,000 for it, depending on the markup of the car and the rebates at that particular time, and then give you an idea of what a fair wholesale value on your trade should be to make sure that you don't pay too much. The other thing we can help you with while you're at Frontier Motors, we can also tell you what the alternative to new would cost. Finally, Consumer Reports put into writing what I've been talking about for 23 years. Last year, they came out with a formula that said that the average brand new car was selling for $36,000 last year, and the first year's depreciation is 27%, which equates into 1 year's depreciation at just about $9,200. And that's phenomenal. And that's an average. So if you're buying a higher line car, maybe a BMW or a Mercedes, they depreciate even more than that because obviously the more expense of the car, the bigger the dollar amount's going to be. So there are some good deals to be had by buying a car that might be 6 months or a year or maybe even 2 years old that still has factory warranty. And the other thing that we help all the people in our area with is free Carfax reports. If you Google Carfax, if you want to run a history report on a car you're looking at, or maybe even your own car to see what it says, it's almost like running a credit report on yourself. We do this at no charge. So if you Google Carfax, you're going to find out that it costs over $40 to run a Carfax report. We pay one fee and I can run as many as I want. So I'm advertising that I will run a Carfax report for you at no charge. So if you found a car dealer that's selling a car and they won't give you the Carfax report for free, doesn't mean you have to get mad at them. Just call Frontier Motors with the ID number, and not only will my program tell me what the Carfax report says, it also gives me an average selling price in our area with the mileage and equipment on the particular car that you're looking for. So I can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone by telling you, hey, it's a good report or it's a bad report. And number 2, by the way, this car in our area is selling for, let's say hypothetically, $22,000. So if the particular dealer or individual that you're going to be buying from is asking $25,000, which might be the book value, might be 25, so they're asking 25, but that might not be the selling value. because the way that we get the selling value at Frontier Motors is we find out what is the wholesale value at the car, of that particular car right now going through the auctions. Because if I know what I can buy a car for at the auctions, and I know what it's going to cost me to ship it, and I know how much profit I have to make on that car, a reasonable profit where I can stay in business, but yet not rip anybody off and stay competitive. And if that particular price ends up being at $22,000, why would you pay $25,000 when we're telling you we can get you that car, if we don't already have it, for $22,000? So a lot of times I've had people come back and say, you know what, I used your information. I went there, I liked the guy, I bought the car. Maybe it was somebody at work and you were helping them out because they wanted to sell their car quickly, and they didn't know what to price it at. And we get so many customers that come back in and call us and say, thank you so much for the information. You saved me a couple of $1,000 because I was going to buy it thinking it was a good deal, and it really wasn't that good of a deal. So these are all the things that we can help you with at Frontier Motors. And when we talk about depreciation, I had mentioned the graph that Consumers Report came out last year, where the first year depreciation was 27%. After 2 years, you save 37% is what the depreciation is. After 3 years, 46%. And after 4 years, you buy a 4-year-old car and you save almost 50% of the value of the car. And these days, folks, they don't make them like they used to, which I'm glad, because I'm an old dog. I got in the car business when I was 1975, and I'm glad they don't make them like they used to, because back then, the cars weren't that good. Cars are way better now than they used to be. It's not unusual for me to take a trade-in with 200,000 miles on it with the original engine, the original transmission. And I remember 35 years, 40 years ago, you're lucky if you got 100,000 miles. People will start trading their car in at around 75 to 85,000 miles because things would start breaking on it. They would need new starter motors, new rotors, and all the things, not even maintenance items, but things that would just, transmission, if it had 100,000 miles, that was a lot. And you were always in the back of your mind thinking, well, it's got 100,000 miles on it, I better get rid of it because it's going to expire. Cars these days, even according to Consumer Reports, are lasting longer and longer, and they're safer and safer. And we'll talk about safety in a minute. But one of the things I want to talk to you about is our friend Dave Ramsey. He talks about Frontier Motors in one of his commercials. Let me explain. Let me let him talk. Let me stop talking.
Hey, Pensacola, Dave Ramsey here. Thinking of buying a brand new car? Well, that's a big mistake. Last year, the average new car was $36,000, and the first year depreciation was 27%. That equates to a whopping $9,200. Go to the dealer that specializes in low-mileage, 1-year-old cars and trucks, my friends at Frontier Motors. They're a used car dealer that I'm proud to recommend. Frontier will save you money over the price of a new car and make the usually dreaded car buying experience a whole lot more enjoyable. They've been serving the Pensacola community for 23 years, and they do much more than just sell cars. Replacement value, diminished value after an accident, Carfax reports, appraisals, help with paperwork for private transactions. They will do it all at no charge. Visit them online at frontiermotorsinc.com or stop by their lot on Beverly Parkway. When you're there, don't forget to tell them Dave sent you.
David Ramsey does a really good job explaining what I do, and it takes me half an hour to explain what I do, and he can do it in 60 seconds, so he does a very good job. And with this coronavirus epidemic we have going on, one of the things that we're also advertising is that if you need a car and you do not want to leave the house, if you're sheltered in place, we have no problem having a car delivered to your doorstep for a test drive, and also being able to deliver a car within 150 miles at no charge to you if you're purchasing a car online. A lot of people have gone to online shopping even before the epidemic to narrow down what they want, but then they normally still come in the dealership. Well, with the stay-at-home order, if you don't want to come in the dealership, which you can, by the way, we still are open for business. But if you don't want to come in, if you feel safer at home, we have no problem delivering the car to your doorstep on a car hauler, or we'll drive it if it's within 150 miles at no extra charge to you. And we have had some people take advantage of that. And I'm still surprised at the amount of people that are coming to the dealership right now in the middle of the crisis, shopping for cars. And most of these people need a car. They're not just kicking tires. Most of the people that are coming out are in the purchasing moment, and they are just happy that we still have almost a 400 car inventory. A lot of the auctions have closed down. A lot of them are doing virtual auctions, in other words, simulcast, which means that I can see the car that I'm buying on TV. I normally don't buy cars like that. I normally have buyers that go to the auctions, but the auctions right now are not letting anybody in to inspect them. But the auction is guaranteeing the car to me. In other words, if I buy the car, they have a condition report on the car, and the auction rates cars from 0 to 5. So if the car is a 4.7 up to a 5, it's nearly flawless. And the auction right now is guaranteeing that if I buy the car on a simulcast, a virtual auction, that when the car gets to my doorstep, if it's not the way they described it, they will take the car back. So I have protection that I am not going to be purchasing a car that I have to doctor up. I like buying cars that are very, very clean, that are non-smoker, that don't have dings and scratches. And I pride myself into making sure that when that car hits the lot, even if it's older than 1 year old, that it's going to be flawless, that I don't have to paint it, that I don't have to put tires on it, that all these things are already done and taken care of by the previous owner. Now, there are cars like that at auction, and the average ratings, and a lot of dealerships in our area, they buy cars because of price only. I don't. I think, and I've learned this from doing this for 23 years at Frontier Motors, that most people would be willing to pay a little bit more for a cleaner car, or perhaps a car that has lower miles on it. I think the mileage is very important on a car, obviously. The less it's been driven, normally the cleaner it's going to be also. And the other thing to take in consideration, other than condition and the mileage, is also the equipment on the car, especially some of the safety features. When I look at my consumers reports, we talked about that they had an article for depreciation. They also have an article of what every car should have. If you're going to be purchasing a car, these are things that are kind of no-brainers according to consumers reports. One of them is anti-lock brakes. And I don't even know if they still make a car without it, but if you're looking for an older used car, let's say that your budget is $5,000 or $6,000. Well, obviously, you're going to be looking at an older car. On some of the older cars that are over 10 years old, some of them do not have anti-lock brakes. And consumers reports, including myself, say that's a no-no. Make sure it has anti-lock brakes. The other thing is electronic stability control, ESC. Consumers reports said about 5 years ago that if it doesn't have stability control, they're not going to recommend the car anymore. That's how important this safety feature is. Keeps the car from skidding out of control. It applies the brakes wherever the brakes need to be applied, so you're not doing the old donuts like the old cars. And the other thing that consumers reports say that you should look for is a safety feature, and these are side curtain airbags, which even until a couple of years ago, for example, on some of the Hondas, like some of the Honda Civics, were an option. Some Civics had side curtain airbags and some Civics didn't, because that was about the only option that you could get on a Honda. I believe now they're standard. If you go in 2020, they all have it. But some of the older models, 5 or 6 years ago, didn't have this feature. And of course, with Pensacola being the red light running capital of the United States, that's what I noticed when I moved here about 24 years ago, is that most of the crashes that I see here are people running red lights or not stopping for a long yellow. And of course, what happens is you get T-boned, and if you don't have side curtain airbags, you're pretty much out of luck. Get side curtain airbags. And I was almost going to mention something like, well, especially if you're buying a car for your youngster. And I don't think one life is worth more than another, so I think everybody should get it. How to be even safer, according to consumer reports? Get forward collision warning system, some type of a warning system. And I know I've got one on my car. I drive a newer car. I have an Audi right now that I'm driving, a 2019. And it has the automatic braking on it, so that if somebody slams on their brake, or maybe I don't see some, maybe I'm not paying attention. Maybe I'm texting and driving, which is illegal. I don't do it, by the way. But if somebody is, and you see them all the time, I'm going across the 3-mile bridge, and these people are like this, while they're driving. Next thing you know, boom. Well, if you have that automatic stopping or automatic alarm system, it'll avoid a crash. Blind spot monitoring, my neck doesn't turn very good, so I love a car with blind spot, so that it'll tell you if there's somebody in your blind spot. Kind of a good name for it, isn't it? Lane departure warning. If you drift from one lane to the other without putting your turn signal on, this will buzz you, it'll alert you. I think it's a neat feature. Sometimes it gets a little aggravating, but if you use your turn signal, it doesn't come on. It's just when you're swerving, especially if you're driving at night, Perhaps you're tired, you're falling asleep. Backup camera, 2018, the government mandated that every car sold in the United States has a backup camera. So you want to be certain that it has one if you're buying a 17 or a 16 or older model. So these are some of the things that are going to be really important when you're buying a car. And I sometimes snicker at customers when, and I had this happen the other day, I had a Cadillac XT4. And if you don't know what that is, that's their new smaller SUV. Pearl white, absolutely beautiful. It has 340 miles on it. And they said, well, I can buy a brand new one for $2,000 less than yours. Well, I said, number one, I feel that mine is brand new with 300 miles on it, even though the warranty clock is ticking. I believe it's about 4 months old. But my vehicle was a little bit more expensive because it had all the safety features, all these things that I noted, which are options on a Cadillac. They weren't standard. My car's got the safety features, the other car didn't, and they told me they didn't care. And that's where the snickering comes in. I said, you don't care? You don't care if your car stops automatically? You don't care if you have somebody in your blind spot and you don't know it and you could ram into them because you can't see them? You don't care that your car has the forward collision warning system, pedestrian warning system? I think it's a big deal, and if I were you, I would care because it could save your life. So I think for next to $2,000, the car might be worth it. And I really feel that way. I feel that if you're going to be buying a car, some people have to buy an older car because they can't afford a newer car. Because according to Consumer Reports, a new car is $36,000 on the average. So even if you buy one year old, it's going to cost you around $30,000. If the depreciation the first year is $9,000, the dealer has to make some money. They have to ship it. They have to get it ready. So you're going to save somewhere between $5,000 to $7,000 on a one-year-old car. And some of the cars don't have the blind spot monitoring, the electric, the automatic braking on it. So you have to look at each individual car. I try to buy all the cars with the safety features. I think it's real important. Car sales are down. It's a good time to get a deal. Whether you're buying new or used, you can get a deal on a car. The less you can buy a new car for, the less the used cars are. Because we have to keep that gap. You know, when they come out, and everybody has seen at the end of the year, the trucks. For example, a Chevy truck was advertising $10,000 off list price, which is a pretty good discount. So if you're looking at a $50,000 truck, you can buy the $50,000 truck for $40,000. That's a pretty darn good deal. So if I have one that's 1 year old, I've got to have a gap between that discounted price. So I have to be able to sell one at least $5,000 to $10,000 less. So as the new ones come down because of deals, the used one comes down too, to keep that gap there. And that's what we specialize in at Frontier Motors, is selling those cars that are a half year to 1 year to 2 years old, still under factory warranty. Most of our cars are in that category. Now, because we sell so many cars that are like brand new, we also take a lot of nice trade-ins that we can sell. I mentioned before, if you're looking for a $5,000 car, if that's what your budget is, we have $5,000 cars. We have $8,000 cars. We have $10,000 cars. These are not cars that I buy at auction. These are cars I buy from local individuals because I can get them inspected. And number two, these are cars that we take in on trade. So I have time to make sure that the cars are good cars. I have time to talk to the owners of the cars. Did they get their oil changed regularly? Where do they have it done? Do you have proof that you had it done? Has the timing belt been changed? These are things that I can find out when I'm talking to a private individual, which I can't when I buy one at the auction. So the auction does not guarantee the older cars. The auction only guarantees the newer cars. So when they arrive on the doorstep, because don't forget right now with the coronavirus, we are doing all virtual purchasing. So I'm actually buying cars that I can't see. So I have to have a guarantee that the car is going to be a good car when it reaches my doorstep. If it's a customer that's selling me that car and they tell me it's perfect and they drive to Frontier Motors to sell me the car and it's not perfect, I can always back out of the deal. And I've had that happen already. I've had some upset customers. And the reason they're upset is because I tell them that I buy cars from private individuals. I would rather buy a car from you if you're selling your car than I would from the auction. I'm helping someone out in the Pensacola community by giving you money for your car. But if you describe the car wrong to me, then I'm going to either back out of the deal when the car comes down their lot, or I'm going to revise my offer based on what's wrong with the car. So for example, you tell me your car is perfect and I tell you I'll give you $10,000 for it. If it comes in and the tires are bald, I'm going to call up the tire store and say, how much for tires? Let's say it's $500. I'm going to still buy your car, but I'm going to reduce it by $500. I think that's fair. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I don't think most people would not get upset, but every once in a while, I have customers that will come in and they have told me their car is flawless and they've got a big old crack in the windshield. They say, well, you can get that fixed for $200. And I say, no, you can get it fixed for $200. I'll still buy the car, but I've given you a price based on what that car is selling for wholesale in our area with no issues. And the same thing with me. If you come and you come to buy a car from me on the lot and you find out there's something wrong with it, you might still buy the car, but you're going to want to buy the car less whatever it needs. And fortunately, knock on wood, we have such a good service department or setup department that our cars aren't going to need anything. We do a really good job when we put a car out on lot that we make sure that there's no check engine lights on. We make sure that the tires are nearly new, if not brand new. We make sure that the brakes are working properly, that we've done a safety check on the car, that you're not getting a car that you've got to spend a bunch of money on. And I think most customers, and one of the reasons that we are the number one dealer in the Pensacola area, and what I mean by dealer is we are an independent dealer. We're a used car dealership. So you've got guys like Sandy Sansey and Alan Turner that are selling brand new cars. We don't sell brand new cars, even though there are competition because they sell used cars also. But we are the largest independent dealer in the Pensacola area. And the reason that I think that's important is because how do you become the largest? It's like going to a restaurant that's really, really crowded and you've got one next door that's empty. There's got to be a reason for it. Why are we selling so many cars? It's not because we give bad deals, and it's not because we sell bad cars. It's because we have fair prices on exceptional cars. And I get so many compliments where customers come on the lot and say, wow, I can't believe that's a used car. The car still smells like brand new. It still looks like brand new. And I'm saving thousands and thousands of dollars over a brand new one. And that's what it's all about at Frontier Motors. And obviously the only way that you're going to be able to find this out is by coming in and taking a look. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the car industry, as I promised we would. And Consumer Reports just came out with the new best brands of cars. Now, what I mean by best brand, they're talking about best all-around make. And that is not based on just reliability, because they have a separate one for reliability. Lexus and Toyota have always been one of the top most reliable cars, but they're not always the best cars, because they take into consideration when they pick the best brand, they take into consideration reliability, they take into consideration roadability. What does it drive like? How does it handle? How quiet is it? How fast is it? How fast does it stop? Then they take into consideration safety features that are standard on that car. That's important. The other thing to consider is owner satisfaction. Would the owners on the average recommend that car? And one of the best ones that I always talk about is Genesis. Genesis has one of the best owner satisfaction in the business. Almost everybody that bought a Genesis last year would buy another one. Now that says a lot for that car. And last year actually the number one brand was Genesis, so I kind of picked on them. This year, Genesis fell to number 2. And the number one best brand, according to Consumer Reports, is a car that's out of reach for most people, and that's the Porsche, which is really amazing to me because I never considered a Porsche, even though I was born in Germany and I should be pro-Porsche because they're built in Germany. I was never a Porsche guy because way back when, I had a lot of problems when we sold a Porsche. A lot of breakdowns, a lot of issues, a lot of oil leaks, bad cars. Guess what? Rated number 1. If you can afford a Porsche, you're going to get a good car. Number 2 is Genesis. Number 3 is Subaru. Actually, I think Subaru was number 1 last year. Genesis was the year before that. Subaru was number 1 last year. Subaru's number 3. Subaru's a great car. And we're lucky that we have a Billy Anderson Subaru right down here on Pensacola Boulevard selling Subarus right here. He does a good job at it. We specialize in that one Subaru that might be a half a year to 1 year old and see how much we can save you. But the nice thing about Subaru is you're not going to have any problems with. Matter of fact, I just sold my uncle a Subaru and he loves it. Number 4 is a sleeper. I would never have thought this. Above Honda and Toyota and Lexus is Mazda. Can you imagine Mazda as the number 4 best car to buy? We sell a lot of Mazdas and they're bargains. They don't have that good a resale value. Now, why is that good? Because they're good cars that nobody knows about, so I can buy them quite a bit less than I can buy a Honda or a Toyota, for example. Even a Nissan. I can buy the Mazda cheaper than Nissan. I can buy a Mazda cheaper than the Hyundai. And according to Consumers Reports, they're well above all those other cars I just mentioned. Number 5 is Audi. Audi's made a huge comeback, even for reliability. Not the most reliable car 10 years ago, but now they are. And of course, we've got Pensacola Audi right now, which is great. It's a Sonic-owned dealership. They own the same group that owns the Honda dealership, also owns the Audi dealership. And the nice thing about having a local Audi dealership, for me especially, selling them used, is we have a local service department. So if people are nervous, I get this every once in a while where people say, well, if I buy a Porsche, I got to drive all the way to Mobile. And you do. If you have a warranty problem, you got to drive to Mobile. Well, now with an Audi, you can get them serviced right here. Number 5 is Hyundai. Can you believe that, Hyundai? 23 years ago when we opened Frontier Motors, we very rarely sold a Hyundai or a Kia. And the reason was because the banks wouldn't finance them. Now, why wouldn't they finance a Hyundai or Kia? Because if you took a 4-year loan, the car would break down before the end of the 4 years, so people would stop paying. So they said, we're not borrowing any money. Now, that was 23 years ago. Talk about a turnaround. Hyundai has one of the best warranties in the business, one of the best cars, and so is Kia. And we have, of course, Pensacola Kia, and we have Allen Turner Hyundai right here in Pensacola. And again, the reason I mentioned those new car stores is because I always say, if you're going to buy new, we want you to buy in Pensacola. Buy it from Allen Turner. Buy it from Pensacola Kia. That's what we want you to do. But we want you to take a look at what we have to offer, maybe a 2020 used one. How much can we save you? I'm the first one to tell you, if I can't save you a whole bunch of money, I'd buy the brand new one myself. But I do a lot of research when I buy my used 2020 car that I can save you enough money to make it worth your while. At least to stop in and take a look. And while you're at the dealership, also take me up on that free appraisal service where if you do decide to buy brand new, because every once in a while usually it's the women that come in and say, I'm not buying a used car. You couldn't talk me into a used car because there's obviously something wrong with it. You know, they don't, that's a lot of the attitude that I get. And they're going to buy brand new. So why would you stop in at Frontier Motors? Well, number one, to find out what your trade's worth. You want to make sure they don't rip you off on the trade-in by giving you a deflated value. You know, you see all these prices on these new cars that are so good. They're unbelievable. And I'm not even saying it's false advertising. Even if it is a good deal, how can they sell the car that cheap? Well, the one way they can do it is by making a bunch of money on your trade-in by giving you less than what the value is. And that's why you always want a second opinion at no charge. And we'll even put it in writing. And we'll give you a buy bid. You know, a lot of times I've had customers just sell me their car and then we'll give them the ride to the new car dealership because they say, I'm going to buy brand new, no matter how much you can save me. Fortunately, we stay in business because most people sit up and notice. If I can save you $5,000 on a 6-month-old car, most people say, that's a pretty good chunk. Our fees are normally less than new car fees, so you're going to save another $200 or $300 on fees. And also, when you're buying that car, let's say $5,500 less, you're going to pay 7% less taxes on that $5,500, so it'll save you another $400 or $500. So there's a lot of reasons that we can help you out, even if you decide to buy brand new. Folks, we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I want to again let everybody know that car sales is an essential business. So we are going to be open through this coronavirus program. Hopefully it will end very soon and we will be over this garbage. And I'm hoping it will be sooner than later. In the meantime, we are open for business. We can bring a car to your house. You can do a virtual test drive where you can take it there, leave the car there. You can drive it for 2 or 3 hours. And if you don't like it, we'll pick it back up. If you like it, we can do the paperwork remotely. So you never even have to leave your house if you don't want to. But our facility at 230 Beverly Parkway, Frontier Motors, is open for business. We have 5 salespeople staff. We normally have 13 salespeople, but we're rotating them because we don't have as much a business as we would have if everybody was still working. Obviously, a lot of people are scared to spend a big money when they don't know how long they're going to be off. But Fortunately, we're still selling cars. We still have customers coming in that need cars, and our cars are online, frontiermotorsinc.com. Check out this show on Facebook. You can also check it out on YouTube. If you have someone that's in the market, tell them to go on YouTube and pull up Frontier Motors, and you can kind of let them know what our services are. With having almost 400 cars in inventory, we keep our website up to date. All of our website has prices on there and pictures, 31 pictures of every vehicle on there. Again, thanks for watching. Stay a safe distance apart. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.